Hi folks, Chuck and Ben McCann here today. Just a little abbreviated quick start guide for a Grout machine. Just going to do a walk around and talk about it. First thing I want to point out is this little bracket right here. That holds your umbrella stand, which is normally shipped in the tub. So don't jump on it and start turning the tub until you look in there, because you might grind up your umbrella. Just standard Kohler engine, choke and throttle. Does it need choke, Ben?
Most of the time it needs a little bit of choke to start.
A little bit of choke to start, and I wouldn't throttle it up until you're really getting going. You know, you can drive it around on low throttle speeds all day long. Gas tank, fuel filter, good place to check the oil every day. I would recommend every single day you check the oil. Okay. Oil filler right there, oil filter right there. There's a little note here that if for whatever reason it should break down and you need to push it or pull it or tow it, you've got to stick a deep socket in there with an extension, and you need to turn it so that you'll release the hydrostatic transmission. This thing doesn't have a parking brake. It just relies on the fact that the hydrostatic transmission is really tight, and when the engine's off, it's got the wheels locked. Now, if it's parked on a hill, it will slowly creep. Like if it's a steep hill and you park it at night, you might come back to work and it's 6 or 10 feet away from where you left it. So you should always chalk it if it's on any kind of an incline. But otherwise, it stays pretty well put. The maintenance, the regular maintenance you really need to grease these weekly. That's really the most important thing. There's one on both sides, and those are seals to keep the grout from getting out into the bearings. Okay, walk around here a little bit. This is the tub. Obviously, this is the tub, and you can see it's scratched up because we test it with a grout that doesn't have any cement in it to make sure we load the chain, the bearings, everything. Stretches the chain a little bit. There's a lot of force on that thing when it's mixing. You should never put anything in it if the agitator is not turning. If you should leave it like this, fill it half full of a load of grout and try to start it, it may not turn. And the Zahn is just like that too. Worse, they can shear a key, which on our machine is pretty easy to get to from the outside. The Zahn, it's a lot more difficult to replace that key. Around here's the seal, the grease seal on this side. This is just the gate that opens and allows the grout to flow in. Oh, you got a rock stuck down in there. Just had a rock in your grout. So this is the thing that you gotta play with this, and you gotta play with the forward back control, foot control, to get your trench fill to the proper amount. So if you want it to be lower, you can go faster, or you can close this down. But they kind of work together, and it takes a knack. It takes a bit of training. It takes a little bit of seat time and practice to get this just right. Now, what this has and other machines don't have is a side shift. This whole thing shifts sideways, back and forth, so that if you're off the edge of the trench just a little bit, you don't have to sit there and try to jockey the whole machine steering. You can just bump it over and get centered back on the trench. Also, everybody has a little bit of a different idea on how high this should be. Some people run it literally above the trench and they're dropping it. Some people are running it pretty much even with the surface of the asphalt. Some people are actually embedding the nose of this down in the trench a little bit. That's personal preference. It's whatever you want to do. All right, so there's multiple safety interlocks here. The main one is you got to be in the seat to make the hydraulics go. All right, you can't drive it. You can't do anything if the hydraulics aren't going. That's also the turning of the agitator, right, Ben? How about these levers? Will these levers work if you're out of the seat?
Those are on if the engine's on.
These are on if the engine is on. Okay. There's a label right here that kind of tells you what these controls are, since there's not enough room here to put good labels. This is the main one. You got to be in the seat. This little foot switch has to be up. You can't have your foot resting on it. That's kind of a, you can think of it as a brake. If you hit that, your transmission is going to slow you down and stop you as fast as it can. It's also going to kill all the hydraulics. It's basically the opposite of this. This enables the hydraulics. This will kill it. Get down on the seat will kill it. So we don't want anybody with their arm in there getting ground up if there's not a person in the seat trying purposely to grind up their arm. Okay. So this enables, and once this is enabled, the green light goes from blinky green to solid green. That means you're hot, you're live, you're ready to go. The other switches here are the mixer, forward and backwards. Okay. So one way will kind of mix all of the grout towards that end of the machine. The other way will mix it all towards this end, and it'll come out irrespective. But it flows a little more smoothly if you have it going in the forward direction. If you have it in reverse, it'll just squirt out in spurts. So, but it's not the end of the world if you get that one backwards. Okay, this one's the vibrator. You see that's on the side of the chute, and that's that black thing there. It shakes it, helps it smoothly flow. I will say that is the single most unreliable component in the industry, okay? And it's not just us. Everybody that has vibrators on grout machines and these types of things, they're replacing those things. I would say you might get a year out of it. I don't know. This is forward and back. This is not a throttle, okay? This is just a hydrostatic control for the transmission. The harder you push, the faster you go. Oh, to get the hydraulics enabled and the green light, this has to be in neutral also. So that's your third safety interlock. And once in a while, you might have to tap that just a little bit to get the green light to show up. Here's a switch that some people use for different things. I thought when we first put this in, you'd get set up, you'd be going down the street, you'd be on your ditch, on your line. You don't need to do much steering at all once you're really good and lined up. And that everything's good, you got the gate open just right, it's matched with your speed, so you're filling your ditch just right, and you click this on and you just hands-free. That's what I thought people would do with this switch. It's kind of a cruise control, but they do just the opposite. The operators want to have total control, and they're sitting here jockeying this and piloting this and doing their super precision flow. But then when they get ready to head back and get another load, they'll just floor this thing, flip this up and set back and let it drive itself down the street to the cement truck. Okay. So it's whatever you want to do. It's there for your own use. We have this sign here, do not pressure wash the steering column up in this area. Yeah. There's a circuit board down in here which controls the transmission. We had a few people pressure wash and get those things totally saturated and then jump on the machine and have it do some goofy behavior. We don't want water on that. Now, since that time, we've made some component changes to make it less likely to do that, and then we've also increased our potting and sealing of the circuit board. We don't think that's ever going to happen again. We hope not, but it's best if you're hosing this thing off, please don't pressure wash any of this area right here. Okay. What else am I forgetting to say, Ben? I'll start it up. It's noisy, so it's really hard to talk and make a video while it's on. I'll start it up. I'll go through the green button thing.
Just make sure that's centered and down.
So center is off.
Center's off.
Vibrator is down.
Down is off for the vibrator.
So pre-flight checklist. Switches all off. Ailerons neutral. All your controls free and correct. Gust locks off the elevator. So here we go. I'm going to start this thing up. I'm going to show you the side shift, the gate up and down, the whole chute up and down. I'm going to turn the agitator on forward and backwards, and there's not a whole lot more I can do. It steers just like a forklift. So if you've got a person on your staff that's good at driving forklift, they're going to be great at driving this. the rear steering. Are there any other grease points that they need to be thinking of? There are a couple grease points on those rear steering wheels.
On those casters, yes.
But they need greasing like once a year, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It's really, oh, here's your gauge. Go here and get this. This is your gauge for your hydraulic fluid, as well as there's a thermometer in there, right?
Yep.
You should never see it too hot. We've got a hydraulic fluid radiator and fan underneath the machine. Underneath this little flipper right here is your fuel gauge, and the reason it has that little rubber flipper on it is because no matter how hard we try, there'll be little specks of grout will come flying out of this thing and get on these areas. And other manufacturers of these types of machines have this fuel gauge right up here, and it just gets encrusted and coated, and pretty soon it's useless. So we decided we were going to protect our fuel gauge. So I'm going to start it up here and show you why. I'm going to purposely do some things to keep the green light from going on. Okay. Okay. Go over here and look. Green light blinking. Blinking means you are not good to go. Okay, I'm going to step on the hydrostatic, try to go in reverse and engage the transmission. See? It's not doing it. Or forward. Nope, there it did. Yeah. So as I passed through the center spot, it came on, right? Also, this little pseudo e-stop brake thing, that will kill it. If I come out of seat, that'll kill it too. So you gotta have all that going. Now, I'm not gonna throttle it up much. I'm gonna say, okay, here's the chute. It's gonna go up. And that's how you would transport it. In the up position, your operator's just gonna have to decide when they want to put it on the down. Okay? All right. How much grout do you want to let out? It'll come flooding out there. It'll make a mess if you're not careful. Go real easy on this, okay? Now, it's a little bit of fine tuning for getting back on your trench if you're off, because this is the course trench alignment. That's the fine. Here's your agitator. That is in the up position, which is the mix position. Okay, if you're wanting to dispense it, go down, and that'll smoothly transport the grout out. There's the vibrator. So there you have it, folks. Check the oil daily, grease those joints weekly. Can't think of anything else to try. You're going to need a lot of practice. I'd get out there and do a dry run, practice tracking a trench before you actually fill it full of grout and go try to do it. You will make messes, okay? You will make messes. The most common mess that's made is opening the gate too far, and you flood that chute and it's puking out all over the place. But that generally only happens the first 15 minutes of an operator trying to learn how to run this thing. And from that point forward, it's all a game of how fast do we go and how open do we run the chute. And like I say, they impact each other. You want to have more grout, you go slower or open the gate. You want to have less grout, you go faster or close the gate. Or a really good operator will learn how to do them both at the same time. So they'll be speeding up and opening the gate at the same time. And it's just like in it running a backhoe. If you're doing the curl and the boom and the bucket curl and the crowd and the boom lift, a good operator will get all of those going at the same time, and it'll be really smooth. These things, you're going to fight it for a week. So that's our quick start guide. I hope that it was helpful.